Honorable ladies and gentlemen, dear guests from abroad,
2003.
ICANA 2023. It's a further conference number 5 for airport and the Nachbarschaftshaus, the FFR, Flughafen and Region, was the continuation of the dialogue in the understanding to use also your knowledge for the expansion of the airport Frankfurt. It has been established now, and it is dealing with several subjects: noise abatement, ultrafine dust, social monitoring. Since the mediation, the focus is on dealing with flight noise. Since quantitative analysis and recording, also considering those affected by noise, but also the question how we can limit noise due to air traffic or reduces. In addition to passive noise abatement, active noise abatement has assumed a very important role. And for that purpose, we have an expert body of FFR looking into new ways and possibilities of active noise abatement. It is approach and descent processes, more silent taxis on the runway, interruptions of noise generation, but also methods of active noise abatement by changing the aircraft. As forum for the airport and the region, with ICANA 23, we would like to point out what possibilities we have to actively abate noise. ICANA number 5, International Conference on Active Noise Abatement, will deal with that today and tomorrow. Sources of aircrafts, that is also looking into engines and the whole aircraft system. In FFR, we will then discuss what measures will be appropriate and how we can implement that into the practice.
English, I would very much welcome our foreign speakers. We are curious to hear from you what is feasible and how to implement. I wish you and us an interesting conference with many valuable results. Und normalerweise muss in so einer kurzen
In such a short welcome, you have to mention a quote. I brought a quote of Steve Miller of 1976. That's the goal that we want to achieve with the aircrafts. Fly me like an eagle. Honorable Premier, it's an honor for us that you have joined us here today and that you will make some welcoming remarks. This indicates, at least I interpret it that way, that we are significant with our activities. You have got the floor. Well, Honorable Councillor Quilling, Professor Wörner, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, dear Professor Wörner, I would like to thank you very much for the kind introduction. It is always a pleasure to listen to you, if I may say so. And, well, you never know what else Professor Wörner does for the federal state of Hesse. Aerospace, that is outer space. Wörner knows exactly what that means for us, and we know that he's highly valuable for us. If you look at the many activities with which he's dealing, he really is a jack of all trades, and we are so proud that he has managed so many positive things for us, and a lot is dependent on the personalities you work with. But I don't want to talk about Professor Wörner only today. You could do that. I was given another subject. That's the subject that you deal with, and if I may say so, the fact that at the location of the largest German airport, you deal with active noise abatement. At first glance, I wouldn't say that's not unusual. I think it's only logical that we do that. But in what way? I would like to underline that. In what way we do that here in Hesse? Well, this is something that is worth considering and talking about. It's really worth to really look into the subject matter. with the Forum Flughafen und Region. As a matter of fact, we have a body that allows us something. It allows us to have a dialogue between the region, the Rhine-Main region in that case, and the air traffic industry, and also creating a dialogue on the impact of air traffic on the metropolitan region, and that is with respect to many diversified aspects. First and foremost, and I think you have interpreted rightly, Professor Wörner, the fact that I'm here really has to do with the fact that I'm really grateful that you are doing this. It's not self-understood. And therefore, I would like to thank everyone who works in this forum. And let me say thank you very much to all of you for a commitment that is more than only fulfilling an obligation. And that's true for everyone involved. And when I mention them, you see how wide the approach is and what the purpose and success of this body is. Representatives of cities, municipalities, districts, it's the Air Noise Commission, it's the aircraft companies, and the German Air Traffic Control. And, of course, our operator of the aircraft, Fraport, as well. And some of you have been doing that for many, many years now. You have accompanied the work of FFR for such a long time, and I would like to say thank you very much. Indeed, this is great and very positive for the region. Let us all remember, I personally remember really well, how it all started and how the situation was, how we dealt with that and how it all heated up, how the region had unrests, and particularly how the polarization developed among the different stakeholders and how people insulted each other. This is different today, and this is, of course, due to the fact how the approach was organized. And by the way, let me tell you, and this really goes far beyond the regions and borderlines of the Rhine-Main region. If I talk to colleagues of other regions in Germany with airports, I mean, it's not that many, but when I talk to colleagues from other federal states with airports, then they envy me, as a matter of fact, because of the work that the FFR has done. And quite rightly so, I would say. They do that because you see what the results have been, what you have achieved, especially in our times. We all live to see that, not only in connection with the airport and noise. In these times, we live to see that more and more we have polarization. And often you don't have a dialogue any longer, but rather echo chambers, and people insist on their opinions and they only talk to people with the same opinion. This is different here. We have a very great dialogue culture in the FFR, and that's really an exception which is highly positive. By no means, I don't want to pay you only compliments. I really want to spell out the truth also. We have conflicting ideas sometimes, and sometimes there are things that separate us. On the contrary, and this is also what we live to see in our society, we see many different situations. The common ground is regarded self-understood, and sometimes it's not even mentioned. But I think that the work of Forum Flughafen und Region shows how much you can reach if you develop a consensus in order to reduce exposures and burdens for fellow citizens. Well, for one, I also enjoy the situation of this mobile world. Cars, aircrafts, trains, that's part of our life. We all use their benefits, and we also make use of this progress that is created by this mobility. But if you have cars, if you have trains, if you have aircrafts, landing, departing, there is noise. I mean, I need not tell you that. You have intensively dealt with that subject, and you know that here in this region, because we are the region with most traffic in Europe, I assume, and as a result, close to such hubs like Frankfurt Airport, there is high noise nuisance, and people living close by are negatively influenced in their quality of life. You know that because you have been dealing that intensively with. FFR deals with the consequences of traffic noise on the inhabitants here. There was this NORA study that lasted for about 5 years. In October 2015, I underlined 2015, nearly 8 years ago, the results of NORA was published. And nevertheless, questions of noise impact are still as topical as at that time. And it's about active noise abatement. And this is the subject of this year's ICANA. The fact that these questions are seen from the perspective, and that's really interesting, from the perspective of an engine manufacturer, an aircraft manufacturer, and an aircraft company. I mean, this really illustrates how complex the whole situation is, that there are so many different facets to look at. It's also an opportunity at the same time. The more diversified the subject, the larger the group of people involved, the higher the probability to find solutions. And for that reason, I think that's a great approach that you have chosen. Many people, and I don't want to talk about our culture and our culinary situation, our landscapes, etc., but many people who don't know Hesse might say spontaneously, there is one thing I know, that's the airport. And therefore, let me underline that very clearly. The airport is not only what people outside Germany think when they hear Hesse, but it is also an essential factor to protect our location here in Hesse and for the whole of Germany. I mean, you have to see that. It's a guarantee to develop prosperity. And that's a discussion that we should not forget about when talking about noise abatement. And therefore, there is one goal that we follow as state government, and we continue to do so quite clearly. The airport is an important component of the infrastructure of our region. We want to develop it further. And at the same time, we want to make sure that the operation and the burden induced by the operation is kept as small as possible. This is not always easy. Sometimes it's a highly complex issue that we have to tackle. It's a great challenge. But I believe, and when it comes to tackling this task, that's what I see. I think all of us, it's really all of us, because we all want to achieve the same. We all know about this high responsibility vis-à-vis the citizens on the one side and vis-à-vis the economic and industrial partners and necessities in our country. We are well aware of that. Well aware? Well, let me add one more point. I am well aware of the fact that for the success of ICANA number 5, not only inverted commas, you have to invite renowned speakers and participants, but it's mainly the people in the background who make sure that it can be successful, all the organizers, everyone who made sure that we can have such an important meeting, and that's the team of the Commonweal Umwelthaus GmbH around Mrs. Lambis. And also this time you have prepared it really well. You have made sure that everything works out. And Dr. Karlan, in representation, let me thank you very much. Let me thank you and your team. It's great how you are doing it. And with that, you are part of this big guarantee that is expressed with everything you do. That is, all of us together, we try to come to grips with the situation, moving away from polarization, developing solutions together. Polarization doesn't solve problems. There is only dispute. And if there is only dispute, you can't come to a solution. Here we have disputes as well, but at the end, we all want to achieve a solution. And that's what makes you different. And therefore, for today and tomorrow, I wish you many interesting presentations. I need not wish that. I mean, you have organized that if I look into your program. So I wish you lively discussions, and mainly I wish you a highly successful conference. All the best of success, and thank you very much for the cooperation with us.